Welcome to Classes of Mail. Before you listen, you should know that Alan Gigax is not in any sense an official spokesman for the post office, the NALC, or anybody else. His opinions are inherently his own and should probably be disregarded. Same for his guests. Any information you hear on this podcast could be wrong and should not be relied upon for any reason. Enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Classes of Mail. My name is Alan Gigax, and I am here once again with Michael Brazenly.
Hi everyone.
There we go. And we are going to do an episode from the Mailbag today. I get emails at classesofmail@gmail.com, and I want to go through some of these because there are questions in here that are worth addressing. So we're going to answer some of these questions, and I got to tell you, if you've emailed me, in many cases I write back and I give the answer, but some of these have been sitting in here because I'll see it and I'll be like, oh, that's a good one for the podcast. And then it just kind of sits and it gets backburnered. And so forgive me if you've been waiting on this answer for a while. Like this first email goes all the way back to January 16th of 2026. All right. Listening to the latest pod, and I have a question. It says addressees can't, I said in my podcast, addressees can refuse any piece of mail for any reason. What is the definition of refuse? I have a customer on one of my routes. I do over the curb sidewalk delivery that has a sign on their box that says no flyers. Does that count as a refusal?
No.
That is correct. I agree. That does not count as a refusal because there's a couple of reasons for this. One, refused mail. When we read from the domestic mail manual about refusing mail, they have to actually write refused on the mail or tell you, I am refusing this piece of mail. It is about specific mail pieces. As a carrier, well, as a customer, they can't refuse whole classes of mail or whole categories of mail. They can refuse specific pieces. And so this sign that says no flyers,
we don't make that decision.
We're not, it's not our job to decide what's a flyer and what's not. Mm-hmm. If they want to refuse a specific piece, they can, but they cannot have a categorical refusal.
And they have to write refused.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they can say it to you verbally as well if they happen to be standing there. But otherwise, they got to write refused on or something similar. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to nitpick them if they write, I don't want this, return to sender, whatever. That's fine. That's refused. But
when they write down return to sender and it's a pre-sort standard, then you need to put a stamp on there.
If they actually want it returned to sender, they do. Yeah. And this is where you may have to actually talk to the customer because do you actually want this returned or do you just not want it? If they just don't want it, okay, that's refused. I'm going to throw it into my U-boat.
But they should use that as their own trash.
Sure they can. But I just don't care. It's not worth arguing about for me. For some people, it really is. But dude, they can refuse mail. I'm not going to argue with them about refusing mail because they're allowed to refuse mail. That's not something that I can argue about. I'm not going to tell them they can't refuse it. Of course they can refuse it. So the other side of that, though, is like, I want this returned to the sender. Like you see it. You guys are mailman. You see when people write on there, like, please stop sending this to me. I do not want to be in your mailing list. And then you take that, it just goes right into the U-boat. The mailer never sees it because it's non-preferential mail.
Yeah. Well, they can keep doing that every month or every week because we have no control in that.
Yeah. And so I will tell the customer, like, dude, don't be afraid to knock on people's door. This is what customer service is. And say, hey, just so you know, this doesn't have enough postage on it to go back to the mailer. If you want it sent back, you have to put fresh postage on it. Otherwise, they're never going to see this nastygram that you wrote on the letter. So, A, don't bother writing the nastygram, or B, spend 75 cents and send it. Yeah. Otherwise, they're never going to see it.
Exactly. And again, that's customer service, and we make money if they actually put postage on it.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so the next one we have is a question about route inspection, and this is right up Mike's alley because Michael's in this situation. So this person writes, first, I really want to thank you for all you're doing. It has helped me grow as an informed carrier. Guys, if you start out your emails with praise, they get read. After 12 years as a carrier, I thought I had a good grasp of my job, only to find out this was anything but. Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm still, after all the shit we've read, there's still so much more. You know, so much more that goes into the job.
I've read the JChem like a half a dozen times,
Right.
to M39 a couple times, to M41 a couple times, to F21 a couple times.
Sure.
You know, all these manuals I've read at least once or twice or three times.
Yeah.
But I did not memorize them.
Yeah.
So sometimes some of these things
Absolutely.
I get mixed
And
up or I forget about it.
Every bit of this information empowers carriers, and that's the idea. So this person goes on. Is there a clarification on 8-hour medical being required to do more than 8 hours during route inspection days?
That is no.
That is correct. There's no requirement. He asked if there's a clarification.
Yeah,
there is a clarification.
Yeah, there was
Go
a
ahead and give
previous
it.
memorandum. I don't remember the memorandum number right now.
That's fine.
But I did in the previous episode when we're talking about we were proud of grievance settlements.
Yeah.
That episode, I talked about it. That memorandum where a postmaster general emailed to or wrote a letter to all managers saying that because of too many
8-hour medical?
8-hour medical. There was a medical that filed a charge against the Postal Service because they got hurt or whatever it was, and the post office had to end up spending like $250,000 or $500,000 or something like that. And they don't need this to keep happening because then they'll keep losing money because now that this person won, that means they can win more. And so they told all the managers that no longer is management going to allow the medical aid to go any longer. And that was in the letter, and that was in the memorandum. I forget the exact memorandum, but it was in there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question. Dude, this one dates all the way back to January 28th or January 26th. Good day, Alan. I am reaching out to ask about RFIs, which is request for information. As a steward, you can request information from management, and they have to give it to you. I thought I heard you talk about RFIs, and if you don't get any documents, that management has to put in writing why they neglected to give any documents. I don't remember where to find it. Thanks for all your help with the podcast. Great job. Hey, I like that praise. Right. Okay.
It normally would be in Article 17.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's our representation. Okay?
Yep.
So
17 and like 31 also talks about like cooperation between the union and management. But 17.3 goes over the rights of stewards. And so I'm going to read the relevant section out of 17.3.
Or right for information.
Yeah. The steward, chief steward, or other union representative.
But before you continue, that's
go
on
ahead.
the JCAM
It's in the JCAM.
page 17-6.
I have it on 17-3.
I have mine on 17-6.
Are you sure? Are you reading the boxed section, 17.3, section 3, rights of stewards?
No, I'm looking at 17-6.
Yeah, I'm going to get to 17-6 in just a second.
So there you go. 3 and 6.
Yeah. So anyway, the steward, chief steward, or other union representative properly certified in accordance with section 2 above may request and shall obtain access through the appropriate supervisor to review the documents, files, and other records necessary for processing a grievance or determining if a grievance exists, and shall have the right to interview the aggrieved employees, supervisors, and witnesses during working hours. Such requests shall not be unreasonably denied. All right, so there's...
Request shall not be unreasonably denied.
Right. So it doesn't say what does management have to do if they're not giving you the information. It says they have to give you the information. Right.
And just to give you a little another idea here is that if you go to nlrb.gov and there is actually like a multiple question, like what did management do to violate the rules? And number one from the union is management failed to provide information.
Yeah, absolutely. That's essentially your get out of jail free card if they won't let you investigate like how we're supposed to even process this grievance.
And that is an NLRB charge.
Right. So we go down to page, for not being in good faith or whatever. Right.
No, not providing
Or for
information
violating,
is an NLRB
exactly.
charge. Yeah.
Yep. All right, so we go down to 17.5, and this passage, this is from the commentary, and I think this is at least relevant. If management delays a steward from investigating a grievance, it should inform the steward of the reasons for the delay and when time will be available. So this is more about them not giving you steward time, But I think the same principle applies here, because by not giving you the information, they are delaying your ability to investigate. And so this is where that in writing part, I think, comes from.
Yep.
Again, this is in the commentary on page 17-4.
And also wanted to add the EL 921, I think, which is management's guide to how to handle grievances.
Right.
And then it literally says that you need to provide information as soon as possible so the steward can work on grievances.
Yeah. All right. And then going down on the next page, 17.6, the right to information. The relevant part here, steward's request to interview and obtain documents should state how the request is relevant to the handling of grievance or potential grievance. Management should respond to questions and requests for documents in a cooperative and timely manner.
Cooperative.
And timely.
And
right.
timely.
And timely. Exactly. So if they're saying, I'm not going to give you that document, that ain't cooperative. And then the next sentence is, when a relevant request is made, management should provide for review and or produce the requested documentation as soon as is reasonably possible.
Yeah. So they can provide you in note saying, hey, I was not able to give you information on this day.
Right.
I will provide it to you by the next day.
Right.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Where it's not reasonable is that, hey, I was not able to get this done today, but I'll give it to you in like 3 weeks.
Right. Exactly.
That's
when the
not reasonable.
timeliness for the grievance has already expired.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because remember,
Management pulls that shit.
yeah. But remember, if you're going to go past 14 days, you and the manager has to agree to extend the grievance.
Right.
Okay. And so when management says, then you said, I'm not going to agree to be extended.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to send
Then
this
they-
up.
then they
with the
fail to provide
statement,
you information.
Yeah, that you didn't give me the information I requested. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And because in
this is-
reality, why would you want to extend it, especially when they're removing a carrier?
Sure. Yeah, anything where justice delayed is justice denied. And in your experience, often that'll get to the next step, and then they'll remand it back to you with the instruction to management, like, give this dude his information. Yeah. Okay, next question, totally different topic.
Yep.
Zoom. Like Zoom meetings. Hey, Alan. No praise there. I don't know why we're even reading this one.
Well,
it's implied.
The praise is, hey, Alan.
Yeah, there
Because they
you
didn't
go.
say, hey, Michael.
No, I guess so. That's true. Even though Michael's the one who answers most of the questions. Hey, Alan, I'm thinking about bringing forth the call for Zoom for union meetings. Any chance you could tell me how to do it? Also, any failings you see in Zoom meetings?
Well, this one is actually for you because you know more about Zoom than me.
Yeah, this one is for me. Yeah. So I guess the hey, Alan is appropriate. Could have used a little praise, but that's all right. So...
He could have said, hey, bald head.
Yeah. Hey, fuckface. So anyway, dude, if you write to me and it opens, hey, fuckface, I will enjoy that. That will absolutely make me laugh, and that's okay. So, all right. Anyway, generally, there's no your bylaws. This is going to be a bylaw issue, and your bylaws almost guaranteed are going to be silent.
Bylaws and local branch issue.
Yeah. The bylaws are how your branch runs. Your bylaws are almost guaranteed going to be silent on the issue of Zoom calls or Zoom meetings because your bylaws were written before Zoom even existed. And so they don't address it. There are some things that may impact whether you can do Zoom, like our bylaws, for example, in branch 2502 say that our branch meetings are to be held in closed session and no outside visitors are allowed. However, that doesn't inherently prohibit Zoom because you can, verify who's signing in. Like whoever, our sergeant at arms checks people into the meeting. You could have someone similarly appointed to check people into the Zoom. And, you show that you're an employee in the same way. So even that doesn't inherently prohibit Zoom. The real problem you're going to run into is
voting.
Yeah, the vote for doing Zoom.
Yeah, I saw that.
No. We'll get to that.
I saw John Murphy do the voting through the Zoom, which I don't know how that works.
You can raise your hand in Zoom.
Oh.
Like there's a tab, like
okay.
a button you can click to raise your hand. But so we'll get to the pitfalls in a second because that's a big one. The difficulty in getting it adopted is people are resistant to it, A, just because it's different. And B, you may have a branch like the Sombrado branch in New York, I think it's branch 36, where they just don't want carriers to be involved. And like that branch, they have their meetings at 5 o'clock. Carriers don't even get off work until 5 o'clock. It makes it impossible for a carrier to attend the meeting. And
So they can pass whatever they want.
yeah, that's exactly right. So it's just the branch officers and the retirees at the meeting. They can do whatever the hell they want. And they don't want carriers to be involved, which is why they actively resist Zoom. At the other end of the spectrum, you have Howard Komine's branch in Hawaii, where he was doing Zoom like with old-fashioned television cameras before Zoom even existed.
Because
to get people involved.
he said that he's got branch that has on different islands.
Yeah, exactly. And so, there's two ways to go. Hey, we have people who can't physically make it to the meeting. One response is, well, those people can fuck off. The other response is, hey, let's figure out a way to get those people involved.
And so basically it's depending on your branch.
Yeah. And that's what you may run into resistance-wise is basically the unstated idea that I don't want those people involved. They can fuck off.
Now, Zoom is if it's not on your bylaws,
Right.
you could literally yourself to follow whatever the bylaws that you have at your branch to add that to your bylaws.
Yeah, you could have it put in the bylaws, but it's not really necessary. If it's not prohibited, then it's just something the branch has to
if the
decide
branch
on.
all agrees, then it doesn't matter at that point.
So
Yeah.
the other resistance you're going to run into, and to me this argument is idiotic. Well, what if management listens to our Zoom meeting or, can listen in on what we're doing? A, who fucking cares?
Right.
You're not revealing nuclear secrets or anything. Like, B, anybody who's at the meeting can report back to management. Ain't nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And C, the juice, I think, is worth the squeeze in the sense that having more carriers involved is worth it on the off chance that management might hear the super secret idea that, we're going to try to enforce the contract.
Yeah.
Give me a
we're
fucking
we're
break.
going to enforce the contract?
Yeah.
Is that what we're going to do as a union?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
It's crazy. What would management do if they found out we're going to try to enforce the contract?
Right.
Oh, my God. It's fucking idiotic. So anyway, that's the resistance that you might run into as far as that goes. But then there's a practical issue that Michael brought up, which is how you're going to handle voting. And this varies from branch to branch. Some branches will just say, as a Zoom participant, you can take part in the meeting, but you can't vote because you're not there. I think the much better way to handle it is, dude, if they're a legitimate participant in the meeting, then they should be allowed to vote. And there are mechanisms on Zoom by which you can vote, such as the raise your hand icon. Or you may find something else that works for your branch. Maybe just physically raising your hand on camera. And so that's Zoom. Again, there's no prohibition against it. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. During COVID, tons of branches were doing Zoom, and the presidential rulings were always the same. Yeah, there's no prohibition. All right, next question. Hey, we're getting close. This one's February 3rd.
Yeah, there you go. It's only 2 months ago.
All right. So this person this person writes, okay, I may be crazy here, but every podcast episode I've listened to regarding sick leave and management's demands for documentation has failed to mention the best defense against discipline. All right, just for clarification here, because I know where the question is going. This is specifically about management says, hey, you need to bring in documentation for your unscheduled absence, like they want a doctor's note. And if you don't give it to them, management will issue discipline for you not giving them a doctor's note for failure to follow instructions.
Well, that is a grievance.
Well, we're going to get to that because that goes to the rest of the question. So I guess it's not even a question, it's advice. So the person goes on. It's the best defense against discipline. It's ELM 513.11 that directs the reader that sick leave ensures against the loss of pay. Then we direct the reader to ELM 513.365, which explicitly provides the sentence, for sentences in quotes, or the penalty for someone who fails to provide medical documentation.
Before you continue, I just thought of something so I don't forget it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sick leave prevents you from loss of pay.
Yeah.
Does that include removal?
No, it's specifically for illness, injury, incapacity.
No, because you might get disciplined for calling in and using sick leave.
It's an interesting argument.
So you can. So it sounds like that's an argument that you can make on the contentions for a steward or whoever is filing that grievance, saying that this protects them from losing any money.
Right. The sick leave is supposed to stop this from happening.
Yeah. So why is management removing this person and lose money?
Right. Yeah. The management's finding a workaround to stop me. Yeah.
So you can add that in your
that's an interesting argument.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we go on to 513.365, which explicitly provides the sentence for someone who fails to provide medical documentation. They can either take annual leave, leave without pay, or absent without leave. They can get charged AWOL.
That's what management can do.
That's management's options if you don't provide the documentation.
No, well,
or if you don't provide evidence that you were sick or whatever.
That's if you were on restricted sick leave, because it also says...
Well, let's say it's an absence of 3 days or more.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Not 3 days or more. It's more than 3 days.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. More than 3 days. That is definitely an important
Which is on the fourth day.
Right. Right. As of the fourth day, then you would have to provide it. Yep. So I want to go into the ELM.
Yeah. There's a part in there that says that if it's under 3 days, that management can accept those documents. Okay. But here's the thing. Because there is no way for you to provide documentation because you didn't go see a doctor because you were sick for 1 day or two.
Oh, I know where you're going
And
with
so
this.
because of that, how can you provide documentation? So that is a contention that a steward can use, saying there is no way to provide documentation after the fact.
Right. Yeah, sure. It's already done. I can't go back to the doctor.
And that is the reason why we have a program called restricted sick leave, okay, where there's like 6 options of what the management is supposed to do before they put somebody on restricted sick leave. Okay. And that, if you follow that is actually the rule on how management can deal with people calling in sick, including if none of these can work, it actually finally says you can go into discipline. So that means they have to follow all these rules before they go into discipline. What does management do now? They just do it anyway. They don't follow any of these rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the problem.
Okay, so let me put this in context of the ELM. 513.364 is about medical documentation or other acceptable evidence. Employees required to submit medical documentation should obtain it from the employee's attending physician or other attending practitioner who is performing within the scope of his or her practice. The documentation must provide an explanation of the nature of the employee's illness or injury, sufficient to indicate to management that the employee was or will be unable to perform his or her normal duties for the period of absence.
Yeah, but does it say that you must provide your illness or what kind of illness you had?
No.
Exactly.
No. And then it goes on to say supervisors may accept substitution or substantiation rather, other than medical documentation if they believe it supports approval of the sick leave request.
Oh, that would be 3971.
Well,
That's what 3971 is.
I mean,
read that part again.
Supervisors
That
may
is
accept
authorization of...
No, substantiation. Supervisors may accept substantiation, right? Substantiation is like my verification that I was actually sick. Supervisors may accept substantiation other than medical documentation if they believe it supports approval of the sick leave request. So you don't necessarily have to go to the doctor. You can pull down your pants and say, look at this weeping sore I have. There's my documentation.
Or throwing up.
Yeah, right. And there's your evidence, and that's fine. You know, that if the supervisor accepts it, you don't, it doesn't have to be a doctor's note.
Or you can just say that, hey, like I had to run and I still have it. What can I do? And if they say, well, I want to see it. Well, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Take a shit right in front of them.
Right.
Well, not shit,
yeah.
Running shit.
Well, but that's to the point. Right. That's the point. So now we get to this, the emailer's point, which is the next section, 513.365. Failure to furnish required documentation. If you do not, I mean, this is exactly the way it's laid out. If you don't provide adequate documentation, this is what happens. If acceptable substantiation of incapacitation is not furnished, the absence may be changed to annual leave, leave without pay, or AWOL. There you go. That's the consequence.
Yeah.
Right out of the ELM.
Yeah. But the thing is, that's not the whole thing.
There's a lot more to it.
There's a lot more to it where it talks about it's 3 days or less. Management may require you to have documentation.
Only if you're on restricted sick leave.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that is where it's only if you're in restricted sick. It's more than 3 days, which is 4 days. Then yes, you do have to provide documentation. Okay.
Right.
And otherwise, if it's under 3 days, you have to be on restricted sick leave before they can provide documentation. Okay. And then when they do that, they also have to notify you in advance that you are placed on restricted sick leave, which is like deemed desirable.
Right.
Okay. And so when management has to warn you that, hey, we had to put you on restricted sick leave, but then there is a rule on how they can put you on restricted sick leave.
Yes, there
That's
is.
going through attendance reviews and see if you're actually improving or
Right.
not.
There's a whole process, and it
that
takes
you have
time.
and it takes time to provide. But what is going on now? Management is not following those rules, and our union has gotten so weak that we're not following these rules for the
Right.
carriers and damaging the carriers by allowing management to issue 3 months, 6 months of letter warnings
Yeah.
and so forth. Because after the 6 months of letter warning, they get that settled to 6 months, and even though you didn't do anything wrong,
Right.
right when you call day one of sickness, within that 6 months, then you get the 7-day suspension.
Right.
Saying, well, you called in sick again, you said you were not going to. Then after the 7-day suspension comes the 14-day. Okay, and you only called in twice. Oh, now you got a removal. Because the reason that I know this is because this is what happened at my station to one of my carriers, which I warned and told my
Yes.
branch about not to do, and they did it anyway. And this person got removed. Now this person is going through all kinds of hell. Let me tell you why. Okay, this person when he got to arbitration, got settled, saying that all money owed to get it back, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so
I don't want to get it. I know the story you're about to tell.
No. There's more added
Okay.
to this. Okay. So she got the money back, but the Department of Wages, Unemployment.
Yeah, this is the part that I know. and
Wanted
it's
the
not-
money back,
Right.
and
I don't want to get into the weeds on
because
this.
it's not solved yet.
I understand, but
But again,
it's a complicated issue. It's
because
math.
again, this is something that was created because our union is being weak of fighting this back because there are certain rules set aside
Right.
in the ELM
Yeah.
that they're not even supposed to be doing, and
Right.
this is to cause the harm to one of my carriers. So yes, when I get a little
I get it.
hot-headed,
I get why you're upset about it.
is when things
Yeah.
like this happen in our own union when we're
Right.
supposed to be protecting our letter carriers.
Yeah.
Sorry if I get a little emotional.
I
on that,
agree with
okay?
you. Yep. Okay. Next email. And so this one, hello, Alan. I love your podcast. Now we're off to a good start. I'm a newly hired city PTF. Dude, that's nice. Just finished 30 days. I have been reading the JCAM as well as listening to you read it as I eventually want to
That
be a
is
steward.
awesome for somebody who's a new.
Oh, incredible. Absolutely. With all that being said, I want to cut to the reason I emailed you. According to the new MOU regarding new employees, we are restricted to working only in our employing office for the first 8 weeks.
Yes.
All right. I
That
don't
is
have
true.
the new employee mentoring program in front of me. I'm going to take their word for it. That sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay. I was recently put on the schedule to work on Sunday. No issue there. However, it is out of another station and not my home office. Is this a violation of the MOU?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very straightforward.
The management will argue that, hey, you're only delivering your station's mail.
Right. But
Okay.
that's not what the MOU
But
says.
the MOU said that you cannot go to another station.
That's exactly
Okay.
right.
And
And
so
I think it
that will be-
specifies even on Sunday you can't you can't go to a hub.
Yeah. So that will be a violation.
Okay,
But here's the problem.
Okay.
You're under probation.
Well, that's the next part of the email, which is the real reason I want to
Okay.
read this email. Because the writer goes on, I keep being told just to shut up and do it without bringing it up to management because I am still on probation. But it seems to me that this is what keeps people from speaking up and letting future carriers continue to be mistreated.
Okay. So I'm going to speak on this one. Okay.
Yeah.
If you have a good steward and you go talk to the good steward, say, hey, man, this is what's going on, but I don't want to lose my job.
Yeah. Let
Okay.
me read the last paragraph then because,
Okay.
dude, you walked right into it. It's perfect.
Okay.
Any assistance or advice would be helpful. If it helps, we don't have a designated shop steward, but instead someone we share with 5 other offices.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, you do have a shop steward. You know who that is?
Yeah. Who?
Your branch president,
Yeah, sure.
because he's the head steward. Okay.
And for what you're about to advise, a steward who goes to 5 different stations might actually be better socially for what you're about to advise.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So because if you have a good head steward, okay, is that they take that advice from you as CCAs, right? And if you get a good steward, they don't have to have it, that the complaint came from you, okay?
Yep.
What they can do is that I'm hearing from complaints from other carriers that without any specific names that
Yeah.
that different carriers are going to different stations that who are brand new.
Right.
So I want to check their clock rings.
Yes. The steward should bring it up without saying the employee came to me. Right.
And so they can bring out all the clock rings and say, hey, this person is brand new. This person is brand new. Why are they at this station?
That's exactly right. Yep.
And then they can file that grievance.
I was alerted to a problem at the Sunday hub. Let me see the
Without
clock
using
rings.
your name.
That's right. And then when you see the clock rings, 100%.
I've done that many times.
Okay. Now here's something that I just noticed, and this is amazing to me. I have a Pixel phone, and everything is tied into Gemini now. Like, it's all integrated in the phone, and my Gmail is tied into Gemini as well. And it will suggest replies for my emails. And most of the time it's just stupid. Oh, thank you for writing and blah, blah, blah. Listen to this, dude. This is what Gemini wrote with no prompting from me. This is the suggested reply. Hey, redacted, the writer. That sounds like a clear violation of the MOU for new employees. You are restricted to your employing office for the first 8 weeks, regardless of Sunday work. Don't listen to people telling you to shut up. That's how bad practices continue. Even if you're on probation, you have rights under the agreement. Since you don't have a dedicated steward, you might need to find another union member in your office willing to raise this up the chain or contact your branch leadership directly. You can mention the specific restriction from the MOU. Dude, how about that?
That's pretty close to what I said.
That's pretty fucking cool. Yeah. Mike, you're almost as smart as a robot. Dude.
Yeah. Now, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
You're worried about losing your job. Okay.
Right.
And as long as you have a branch president or someone who's a head steward or whoever's doing, somebody at your post office is running the union.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That they are being the steward.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have one, somebody's supposed to do it. Okay.
Right.
And when you're a new employee, you're supposed to go to a new employee training, and majority of the time, the union comes up to talk to all of you guys.
Sure.
Okay. And now I can't say that for all the cities, but that's what they're supposed to do. Okay.
Yeah.
To let you know, hey, you're in the union.
Right.
And here's our phone number. Here's a NALC shirt for you.
Right.
And here's your bylaws. Here's this. Here's that. To provide you all the things that you need as a union member.
You know, I would go a step further and say that according to the new employee retention program, you're also supposed to have a mentor at your station. And the mentor can take up for you in this regard.
Yeah, and should know who the union person should be.
Well, the mentor should be keeping tabs on what you're doing.
Right.
And when the mentor finds out that you're being sent to another station, they should bring it to the steward, which washes your hands of it.
Right. The mentor can actually file that grievance.
Well, or tell the steward to file the grievance.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it didn't come from you at all. That gives you cover.
Yeah.
And it's bullshit. Gemini's right about this too, and so is the writer. It's bullshit that you have to keep your head down for fear of being disciplined or retaliated
removed or
against.
Get fired before your probation is over.
It's shitty.
Yeah.
And so after your probation, but even then as a CCA, you still, like, management makes your schedule. And so you're still subject to certain levels of retaliation. And the union needs to be very active in
So I'll
fighting
give
that.
you an example of what happened in my station. Okay. They were using a lot of CCAs to deliver highway contract routes. Okay. And including new ones.
Right.
Okay. And so they were afraid to let me know that there was a grievance. Right. No, I told them if you're brand new, I will not use your name saying that you're the one who's filing that grievance. What I'll do is I'll just pull everybody's records and file a grievance on it.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that, and then the grievance would have like 6 or 7 CCAs on there.
There you
and
go.
they were getting paid thousands of dollars until management got to the point where, like, we don't want to pay CCAs anymore. So you know what the stupid thing they did?
I know what they did. Tell the listeners.
They brought regular carriers to give a detail to be 204B because, to carry contract routes, you have to be a manager. So they made that become a 204B to deliver the highway contract in management's salary.
Right.
And they got 2 to 3 hours of overtime every day. So they were getting tons of money.
Yeah.
So when you talk about how we're wasting money, that's where we're wasting money too.
That is a very good example of it. All right. And with that, I think that'll about wrap us up. So thank you much again, Michael, for coming over, helping me to do these episodes. Listeners, thank you very much for writing to me and asking these questions. classesemail@gmail.com. That's all I got. We will catch you all next time.